Hello and welcome to National Park Wild. I'm Eric, and I recently returned from the National Park of American Samoa, more formally American Samoa, so I'll try to stay on that pronunciation. And I stayed on Tutuila Island, and it was beautiful. It's one of my favorite national park experiences I've ever had. It was my final of the 63, and in this video, for anyone who's curious or planning a trip, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 things to do in Tutuila. Before we begin, subscribe so you know when new national park content comes out, and 2 disclaimers. First of all, there might be some pronunciation errors, and second, I have some honorable mentions. They're not really things to do, but they're things to see. You want to make sure while you're there, whether walking or driving, you try to get views of Rainmaker Mountain and Pola Island. Beautiful sights. National natural landmarks. They are gorgeous. Absolutely top priorities, even if they aren't really main activities. But now let's get into the list. Number 10 is exploring Pogo and the park's visitor center. Pogo is an interesting city. It kind of feels like a small American town that happens to have beautiful scenery surrounding it. They have McDonald's, they have a Regal Cinema. There are things that feel similar to mainland American culture, but it's still very much its own thing, and for when I went, some stuff was unique. There was Christmas decorations all over the place. There's a lot to enjoy. Walking around, enjoying some of the local cuisine, talking to people. It's a very accommodating location, and the park's visitor center is among my favorites. Several exhibits. Even though it's in a pretty remote area, it feels like one of the most well put together of them all. It is smaller than some, but I enjoyed it. Ranger Pua was fantastic, shout out to him. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time at the visitor center, gained useful information, learned about the history and culture, and even though this is not the nature part of the park, it's definitely a must-do. Number 9 is Blunt's Point Trail. This trail is a very confusing one to try to find, so here's where I start acting as a travel guide, really telling you how to get to it. So you'll see a sign for Blunt's Point. There will be a pink house up the road. You want to go there, and go to the left of the house if you're going up the hill, and there's sort of a path, and I'll say if you see roosters trying to climb up a wall that's made of rock and leaf and branches and stuff, you're probably in the right place. You'll go up around this mountain, and at the top you'll see a historic cannon. It's very interesting to see this cannon pointing out towards some of the beautiful scenery. There are tons of invasive amphibians on the trail, which is also worthy to note. Do report those to park rangers, but it's very likely they already know. And the view is definitely spectacular at the top. Marvelous hike, but there is quite a bit more to see. Number 8 is doing bird watching. Not just for birds, as even though there are tons of colorful ones, reds, blues, and all, large birds, small birds, they're nice. But you're also going to be watching for bats. Bats are among my favorite animals to see in national parks now because of just how fascinating it was to see the Samoan flying fox. It is a stellar creature. They can be massive. Their wingspans are unbelievable. They come pretty close to your head sometimes when they're flying. Sometimes they're way higher up. Sometimes they flap, sometimes they just kind of glide. It's a very interesting sight to see. It's flying mammals. I don't see them very often where I live, so when I see them hanging in trees and doing all sorts of unique things, I think that's a fascinating wildlife experience, and one of my favorite wildlife experiences in any national park. Number 7 is the hike at Fogatelli Bay. Another very important one to note that is hard to get to. You will, when you're on the way there, find a fork in the road. Go right. If you go left, you'll end up in a dump. Literally. If you go right, you will come to a house. They will charge you $5 to hike the trail. This is a case in a couple of places. I'll get to some more later where you have to pay to experience them. But like most of those, it's worth it. This trail is beautiful. You overlook the water, and once you get down to the beach, you're in your own secluded cove, and on some areas on the bay you are able to snorkel, though I don't recommend doing it from the trail. And it's nice to watch. Not to mention you'll walk by the fascinating Fogatelli crater, which while not the most traditional of craters, is still a fascinating national natural landmark. Number 6 is Cape Taputapu. This one I did not find the trail to. It exists from what I understand, but I only saw it. I was very close, but didn't walk on it if that's what people normally do. but it is still absolutely breathtaking. It's a glorious hike to be in that area if you're walking along the beach, even if you don't do the main trail, which I did not. I really like seeing the water come in, sometimes crashing on rocks, making huge splashes, sometimes just going along sand, and then you have similarly beautiful tropical scenery, rocks jutting out of the ocean. It's pretty unforgettable. Number 5 is turtle and shark. You might think I'm saying look for turtles and sharks, but no. There is a sacred area known as Turtle and Shark. It is believed that an ancient legend where turtles and sharks came if a certain chant was said would arrive here. While we did not see those, we did see an eel. And furthermore, there was a pretty impressive amount of rocks. And if you've seen Thunderhole in Acadia, areas like that, where the water is splashing underneath the rocks, it'll hit and it'll splash up out of a hole, kind of like a small little Old Faithful. I enjoy that a lot. It's a unique sight and quite fantastic to marvel at. Great for getting video and photo, I love it there. And even without the main wildlife that they mentioned in the name, I think it is a must-do. Number 4 is Lower Salma Ridge Trail. A kind of tough hike, very steep at points, though short. You will come to an absolutely spectacular ending point. You can see Pola Island from here. You're looking out to the left and see that, but when you look straight down, you get the same kind of view you would at Turtle and Shark, with tide pools and coves and the waves crashing into them. It's absolutely stunning. I thoroughly enjoy this trail. It's an amazing one. And as far as trails go, it's probably the second best. Number 3, go to Anu'u Island. This is a small island that you can reach from the southeast end of Tutuila via a boat. The boat charges $2 a person, and it is absolutely worth it. This island is very cut off from the rest. It feels like its very own thing. Many people don't go between the islands, but this one is a nice one to go to. The beaches are pristine, tranquil, until you get to some of the higher rocky shores. Then you have the big splashes and currents and tides that you'd expect with some Pacific Ocean such. But the main thing I love is snorkeling here is also enjoyable. You can see massive parrotfish and so much more. I didn't see turtles and sharks and stuff. Actually, there was none anywhere in the islands from what I saw, but there are some around there, I know. I like seeing bats as I'm in the water, looking back to the breathtaking mountains of Tutuila. Imposing figures they are. I think it's absolutely necessary that you go to this area if you can. It's a nice little island retreat from an island retreat, and I highly recommend it. Number 2, snorkel. Anywhere on Tutuila. There are tons of great places. 2 I thoroughly enjoyed are Tisa's Barefoot Bar and Sadie's by the Sea. Sadie's does not have a ton of coral, but an unbelievable amount of reef fish. All of the reef fish here, they are absolutely vibrant, colorful, diverse. So many I'd never seen before, and so many I'd love to see again. Even though it's not deep water or anything like that, it's some of my favorite snorkeling I've ever done. And Tisa's Barefoot Bar, this one, you have very grand coral structures. They're expansive and vast. They're colorful. Some of the best coral you'll ever see. And similarly, there's plenty of fish swimming in and out of the coral structures, and it's possibly even better than Sadie's by the Sea. It's hard to beat snorkeling in American Samoa. I think it's one of my favorite snorkeling experiences ever. And therefore, while being on the land is great here, you definitely have to go in the water. But number 1 is a land activity. It is hiking Mount Alaba. Mount Alaba is a top tier trail in terms of national parks. It is very muddy, always, so your boots might not even be good enough. You'll want the best boots ever, or they will be permanently a different color. But either way, going up this mountain, getting panoramic views of pretty much the whole of the island. Some of the most interesting views are partway up, you'll be able to see Pola Island, among other small ones. You'll see bats near the end even. Sometimes you'll see bats pretty early on the trail. You'll see crabs, thousands of feet up. It's an interesting sight. I hadn't seen crabs like that before, but they are there. Plenty of other wildlife, breathtaking flora, some of the flowers are particularly colorful, and it is a stellar hike. The final view is one of my favorites. You overlook Pogo Harbor, you can see mountains to your left and right, there's a historic skyway, the tram that used to go up, in the kind of zipline form, ski lift as you may know. It is an interesting one with its history. There was some major disaster that happened unfortunately, but looking back on that is fascinating. And then of course you have the awe-inspiring colors of this park. The lush green mountains, the perfect blue water, the white sand of the beaches. Island paradises, I feel, don't really exist. But this one is about as close as you can get to true paradise. And the view from the somewhat challenging but very rewarding Mount Alaba Trail absolutely cements that. And it helps cement American Samoa as one of the best national parks in the US. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below your thoughts. If you want to know anything else about this park, let me know. Subscribe for more content. I'll see you next time.